morning and welcome to the program. You're watching our mid-morning edition of Arirang News on this Friday, May 8th. It's a Parents' Day here in South Korea. Live from Seoul, I'm Son Heung-min. Before we begin, these stories we're following at this hour. Developing news, at least 11 dead and hundreds hospitalized after a gas leak at a chemical plant in southern India. Villages within 3 kilometers of the plant have been evacuated as a precaution, and LG Chemical is probing the leak. A tough deal to make, the U.S. president says South Korea agreed to pay substantial money for the stationing of American troops. And Seoul's foreign ministry says the defense cost-sharing deal must be reasonable to all sides. Plus, South Korea will be deciding where to build its next-generation synchrotron radiation accelerator with the aim of bringing in some $5.5 billion of economic benefits. A gas leak from an LG chemical plant in southern India on Thursday left big groups of people gasping for air, with some even collapsing face down on the streets. Once it was all over, at least 11 people were dead and hundreds of them have been hospitalized. Our Kim Da-mi has the details.
India woke up to a toxic gas leakage on Thursday, leaving at least 11 people dead, including an 8-year-old child, as well as hundreds more who were rushed to hospital. The accident occurred in India's Andhra Pradesh state at a plant operated by LG Polymers, a unit of South Korea's biggest petrochemical maker, LG Chemical. Most of the victims lost consciousness while driving or standing on balconies outside their homes. The leakage during the early hours of the morning also gassed people as they slept. The toxic gas has been identified as a styrene, a flammable liquid that's heated into a gas to make industrial products like rubber and latex. The gas reportedly leaked after being heated at the factory. Around 1,000 people were directly exposed and around 3,000 people in the contaminated area were evacuated. The gas leak was later sealed and the air gradually cleared.
And other measures to neutralize the entire chemical situation there is also being taken. So overall, the situation is under control.
No South Korean victims were reported. In a statement released from Seoul, LG Chemical said the gas can cause nausea and dizziness when inhaled, and it pledged to ensure the casualties receive treatment quickly. Praying for safety for all affected, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said the government is reviewing rescue and relief operations. The tragedy comes after the plant reopened following India's national lockdown that was imposed in late March due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Kim Da-mi, Arirang News.
The Trump administration is reportedly asking South Korea to be responsible for $1.3 billion in their defense cost-sharing deal that still remains unsigned. While Seoul's foreign ministry has remained tight-lipped on Washington's latest suggestion, it has previously stressed that the agreement needs to be reasonable and fair for both sides. Our Kim Hyo-sun reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump has once again stressed that South Korea has agreed to pay a significant amount in defense cost sharing as it continues to pressure Seoul to increase its share of the cost of stationing American troops on the Korean peninsula. Speaking to reporters at the White House on Thursday, he also explained other countries should respect Washington by paying more in defense cost. His remark comes as Washington has reportedly suggested Seoul pay $1.3 billion a year for defense cost sharing. This is a sharp reduction from the $5 billion the Trump administration mentioned initially, but it's still a whopping 50% increase from what South Korea paid last year. Asked by South Korea's Yonhap News Agency on Thursday, a senior Trump administration official said it's quite a reasonable amount, adding Seoul can and should contribute a fair amount. The nominee for the Pentagon's Deputy Undersecretary for Policy, James Anderson, also called for Seoul to shoulder a larger amount of the defense cost. In a written statement addressing questions by the U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee ahead of his confirmation hearing on Thursday, he explained that this is inevitable as the allies must be prepared for more numerous and complex challenges together. Regarding the ongoing defense cost-sharing negotiations with Washington, Seoul's foreign ministry said Thursday that the agreement must be reasonable and fair for all sides. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Kim In-cheol explained there are differences in perspective between the allies. However, he refrained from commenting on Washington's latest request for South Korea to pay $1.3 billion. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
And some of the latest North Korea-related news coming in this morning. We have learned this morning that the regime's leader Kim Jong-un has sent a verbal message to Chinese President Xi Jinping on China's success dealing with COVID-19. The North's state-run Korean Central News Agency reported this morning that Kim congratulated Xi and said it highly appreciated Kim for seizing the victory in a war against an unprecedented epidemic. However, no details on when or how that message was delivered. It is the first such message from Kim since his public appearance late last week after a weeks-long absence. And now to the latest coronavirus-related situation here in the nation. A COVID-19 patient has been confirmed to have visited 5 clubs in central Seoul, raising concerns over a possible community transmission. With the Seoul city government and the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention tracing the patient's possible contacts, it is estimated that over 2,000 people may have been in contact with this patient during this past 6-day holiday. Our Lee Seung-jae tells us more.
This is a normally bustling club in Seoul's popular foreign neighborhood of Itaewon. The club is one of 5 that are currently shut after a 29-year-old man found to be infected with COVID-19 visited the venue. The patient says he wasn't aware of his infection status while visiting the clubs last Friday, but started to suffer from a high fever and diarrhea the following day. The patient's friend, who also spent time at those 5 clubs until the wee hours of Saturday, also tested positive. While the KCDC estimates 57 people directly came into contact with the 29-year-old, there may have been over 2,000 people that could have come into contact with the patient from the 5 clubs he visited. In addition to the clubs, the patient and 3 other friends visited 4 different areas during the 6-day holiday, raising further concerns there may be even more people that came into contact with the patient. While health authorities continue to track all the places the patient visited through his credit card purchases, other experts fear that with one of the clubs being known as a gay bar, visitors who may have come into contact with the patient may be reluctant to reveal their identities and come forward to get a test, raising the possibility of the virus spreading quietly. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
At the nation's parliament this morning, following on from the ruling Democratic Party vote on Thursday, South Korea's main opposition United Future Party is set to elect its new floor leader this morning. The party began its 6-hour-long general meeting at 10 a.m. sharp and is holding a joint debate session, then the floor leader election. 2 candidates have thrown their hats into the ring. 4-term lawmaker Chu Ho-young and Korea's former ambassador to China Kwon Young-se hope to lead the party's first year at the 21st National Assembly. Since nearly half of the party's lawmakers have been newly elected, the debate session is expected to play a big role in swaying the votes of the party members. The new floor leader will be tasked with giving fresh direction to the party, which suffered a crushing defeat in last month's general election. South Korea's Science Ministry will soon be revealing where the country will build its next-generation synchrotron radiation accelerator, crucial technology for the next phase of the country's biotech industry. The 2 final candidates are Naju in Jeollanam-do province and Cheongju in Chungcheongbuk-do province. Our Chang Tae-hyun explains.
The Ministry of Science and ICT is poised to announce where the country's second 4th-generation synchrotron radiation accelerator will be built. Costing $820 million, the facility can be used to harness electrons moving at high speeds to create energy and X-ray beams. It can also analyze superfine materials, a process that can be used in the development of new advanced materials, displays, and semiconductors, fueling growth in South Korea's biotech and life science sectors. The accelerator can also be used to develop the treatment for swine flu, Tamiflu, and a drug used to combat erectile dysfunction, Viagra.
A synchrotron radiation accelerator is like a giant microscope. It analyzes the internal and external structures of the specimen.
There are 2 synchrotron radiation accelerators in the city of Pohang, Gyeongsangbuk-do Province, but the government wants to build another due to demand. As for the location, it's between Naju of Jeollanam-do Province or Cheongju of Chungcheongbuk-do Province. In Cheongju, solid bedrock provides an extra degree of geological safety, and the city is close to Seoul. Also, there are many other bio-research facilities in close proximity. On the other hand, Naju City has stable landform and a soon-to-be-opened university nearby that could participate in joint research. This investment is expected to rake in nearly $5.5 billion worth of economic effect on production inducement. Chang Tae-hyun, Arirang News.
South Korean football star Honeung Mins has once again grabbed the international attention as the country's army disclosed images of Son doing his military service wearing combat uniform during a drill. British media outlets including The Guardian and The Sun have been publishing this unusual image of the Tottenham star in military uniform and holding rifles. Son, after receiving 3 weeks of training, will be discharged this Friday. And he earned an exemption from the mandatory national service after he guided South Korea to gold at the 2018 Asian Games in Indonesia, but he's still required to serve 3 weeks of military service. The 2020-21 K-League season kicks off this afternoon with the nation now showing another major sports league begin its season thanks to the declining number of COVID-19 cases here in the nation. First up is a matchup between the defending champions Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors and FA Cup holders Suwon Samsung Blue Wings at Jeonju World Cup Stadium at 7 p.m. Korea time. With other countries waiting to restart their respective football leagues, 17 countries will air South Korea's top-flight pro football matches live this season. K-League matches will also be streamed live on English football media platforms and over-the-top platforms. The city of Seoul will provide $80 worth of grocery vouchers to households with elementary to high school students. The decision is aimed to minimize the damage inflicted on school meal catering businesses due to the delayed start to the new semester. The city will use the money to provide all students with vouchers for $25 worth of rice as well as $25 worth of vegetables and meat. And the remaining $30 can be spent in the Donghyup online mall. These vouchers must be used by the end of July.
Good morning. So much rain is in store nationwide. We'll be seeing rain from this evening in the west before it spreads to the rest of the country by tonight. In Jeju and southern coastal regions, we'll see 50 to 100 millimeters, and Seoul will see between 30 to 80 millimeters into Saturday. And temperatures will return to season norms tomorrow, but due to the summer-like readings we've had lately, it could feel like a significant cool down with dark clouds. So if you have a special plan for Parents' Day weekend, take the weather into account. Blue skies will be abundant in eastern parts of the country during the day, and it's going to be a warm afternoon. Seoul, Gyeongju, and Chuncheon getting up to 26 degrees Celsius. Sunshine and balmy temperatures are in the forecast next week. Readings should be on the rise again. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
And that's our time at this hour on Arirang News. More lineup will be coming up at noon Korea time, so do join us again then. Thanks for watching.